I don't mean to throw. I'm gonna throw a curveball right here. You know, with this generation of fighters that we're dealing with, I mean, we can point a lot of fingers in a lot of direction, but a lot of people who just now, started diving deep into the sport of boxing. When you go back and look at the tail end of Floyd Mayweather's career, now that he's been retired for quite some time, a lot of people always lean on the excuse of Floyd Mayweather ruined the sport of boxing. He ruined the next generation of boxing because he retired with an undefeated, unblemished record, and he also politicked towards the end of the career. Now, when I say that, remember I mentioned people just now started to dive deep into the sport of boxing, and when I say just now started diving deep, they probably came in towards the last few fights of Floyd Mayweather's career. So a lot of people lean on that crutch of Floyd Mayweather ruined the sport of boxing because they only seen the tail end of Floyd Mayweather's career and how he operated. But yet we have seen fighters like Shakur, Bud Crawford, Tank, Devin Haney, Teofimo, et cetera, et cetera. We have seen these guys become professionals, and now they try to politic like Floyd did through their entire career, and they're not getting the same results. So basically, what I'm asking is, do y'all think this is the Mandela effect of what Floyd did? Towards the tail end and headed into retirement, do you think these guys are trying to operate too much on what Floyd did toward the end of his career, and them not actually paying attention to what he did throughout the beginning and the middle of his career? Because they don't fans don't seem to understand that there was a pretty boy Floyd and then there was a money Mayweather. Fans don't understand that part. But you got guys trying to be a money Tank, a money Shakur, a money Bud Crawford, a money Teofimo Lopez, a money Devin Haney, a money whoever. Guys are trying to be that immediately, but yet they haven't put in the actual true hard work and grind and grit of the champion. So my question to y'all is, do y'all think this is the Nelson Mandela effect of what Floyd did towards the tail end of his career?
I think it's a little bit of that, but I also think it's the nature of the boxing business and how they treat black fighters once they take a L. We've seen it with the Devin Haney's. We've seen it with a bunch of these fighters, right? We get held to a whole different standard than the boxing game. You got guys like Virgil Ortiz that really ain't fought nobody, and they're still getting touted like the next hottest thing, even though he had a arguable loss to Boachuk. Um, if a black fighter get in there and he take a L, you throw him to the wolves. But if a Mexican go in there and take a L, he's still hot. He still can make a name. He can still have a fan base. Black fighters in America are one of the few. You go in there against anybody that's not black, you damn near get booed. In
Yeah,
America,
right.
you fight a Mexican, you get booed. You fight a white guy, you get booed. The only time you get cheered on is if you fight another black guy. Then they're like, all right, bet. It's the, you might as well just pick one here. But it's kind of like a lose-lose situation for black fighters here in America. It's not really the same in the UK, but here in America. So it's a little bit of the Floyd, but it's also what they see when they go into these fights and the whole crowd against them in America. When they see what happened to Dev, even though Ryan cheated, you see how Dev get treated. Of course, I don't agree with the suing and all that, but I think it's a little bit of Floyd, but I think it's also what they see in the gym every day, what they see when they go to these fights. It's hard for us to get the respect.
True. Oh, correct, correct. I can stand by that. I agree with that. K-Po, how you feel about it?
I agree with everything y'all said, man. Um, Huncho hit it on the head about just black fighters. We're held to a different standard. You know, um, Loma lost. He still was looked at the same. The narrative is like, oh, he he fought another good fighter. He just couldn't win, right? Even like we'll use Crawford. Let's say Crawford lost to Canelo, right? Um, I feel like he would have probably faced a little bit of backlash, right? And truthfully, because of the fact that hey, why did you go up 3 weight classes? And they probably would have came at him in that manner. But if let's just say I don't know, let's say Virgil Ortiz did that and he went up and he lost, oh, he dared to be great. So it's like different
Right.
narratives for black fighters than it is for you know than it is for I would say a white fighter or a European fighter. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you hear Paulie Malignaggi, he talk about black fighters. He be saying some racist stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know Paulie Malignaggi on, but you know, it's like we're held to we have to win, right? So I understand the mindset of the young fighter now. That mindset is like, look, I gotta stay undefeated to keep this money coming in. Whereas the white fighter, or I won't say the white fighter, European fighter, if they lose, they may still get paid the same. You know what I mean? They may still be looked at the same, right? So I definitely agree with that.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna say this: heavy as the head that wears the crown. Right. I get what y'all saying, but at the same time, us being the predominant, the most dominant in the sport to this day and age. You got your great Mexican fighters, you got your great European fighters, you got your great UK fighters, you got your great Chinese, Asian, whatever there is out there, African fighters. They have their greats, but to this day and age, when you look at the list, it's mainly the guys, the black Americans that's at the top of the list. So with everything that y'all said, I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. With the narrative and the double standard with the black fighters, I think with that being said, since that's going to be the way they treat black fighters, why do black fighters steer away from each other so much? Why do they? Well, I'm not going to say why. I'm going to say I don't like how, because of that standard y'all just said. I don't like the fact that they still give these other. Not saying they shouldn't, because they should. They're part of the career. They're part of the resumes. Other nationalities are part of this sport. But at the same time, when the opportunity is presented, the way they display themselves and cry about, oh, we're gonna fight my hometown. I'm the A side, you the B side. How you gonna get paid? I'm not taking that much. Do you think that's hurting them more, a little bit more in the situation? As I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is the way they portray themselves when it's finally time to have a black versus black matchup, or African American versus African American matchup. The way they carry themselves in the public, do you that I feel like that adds fuel to the fire on how they uphold the standard against us. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Do y'all agree with what I'm saying?
Ye- I do, but I think my follow up question would be, what black matchups did we not get, except for maybe like Shakur and Tank?
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. I can't even attest to that. I'm not gonna lie. Which ones we didn't get, I can't even attest to that. So
So I
to
think we get them, but I think like a big thing with these promotional companies, I think they put it in these fighters' ears that black versus black fighters don't sell. Fight this Mexican, you get two different demographics. I think it's really mostly probably on the money risk, and then like you said, then when you talk about, oh, where are we gonna fight and all that, then it's like, man, F it, dog. Why even fight these black fighters if we're gonna have to go through that? Let's just keep fighting these Mexicans. Let's keep getting
right,
these
right,
paydays. The Floyd blueprint right there, because Floyd fought a whole bunch of a lot of people that had countries behind them, and that's what brought in that the most revenue.
right. Which
Yeah,
is you can't argue with that. That the proof is in the pudding. That's facts. We can't argue with that at all. Floyd
yeah.
did.
But
Oh, he fought a bunch of people with countries.
hmm I think we get a lot. We getting Stephen Fulton versus Oshaki Foster. We getting
I love
Brian.
that one.
Yeah, man, that's an underrated fight right there.
hmm
Brian Norman versus Dev. Uh, we got Earl and Bud, even though it's like a few years overdue, in my opinion. We did eventually get that.
Floyd and Zab.
Floyd
Yeah.
and Zab. I think they come around. Maybe they don't happen exactly when we want them, but eventually we get them, especially at that 154 division when we had Jermell fighting Tony Harrison fighting what's my dog Swift. What was his name? Goddamn, with the blonde hair and shit.
Oh, Jerry Hurd.
Jared Hurd, like 154. We had
Yeah.
a lot of good black on black rumbles up there. Heavyweight, we got a bunch. Uh I think at the lower weight classes, just so many. Well, we got a lot now, but I think before with so few names, they probably really didn't want to take that L to a black fighter early, because that's who gives us the biggest problem, right? I think black fighters give black fighters the biggest problem.
Right,
So,
right,
because you just seeing it coming up in the gym. Y'all know, y'all coach and boss hog, ex boxer. So we just know each other's style. So it's like, why fight? Why make that fight now until the money just ultimately right? I think that's the problem. They want the money to be perfect to fight another black fighter versus if it's like maybe like 80% there, go ahead and do it because the money's still good. They want it to be 100% right. They want everything in their favor before they take that risk.
right, right, right. And I agree with that. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I ain't got nothing else on that subject. I just that's some questions I've been had in my mind. You know what I'm saying? And now we got solid people on the panel, so I just wanted to make sure I get to get like the same out, not the same output, but get the questions out to make sure I'm not the only one thinking, that hey, we struggling to get certain things done as black fighters, and I do
Yeah.
understand that held
Yeah.
to a different standard, and I feel like that kind of cripples us in a way. Well, what it doesn't kind of it does. We held to a different standard, but at the same time, it's like I still want them guys. Like you say, we get in those fights, and we sometimes we get them, later than we want. But at the same time, we still get it. But at the same time, I just feel like how I am. I want them to fight prime on prime. I don't want
Yeah.
one prime. I
Well,
don't want one
well,
three
well,
3 years early in prime and 1 4 years out of prime. I want to be prime on prime. But that's me. So, but at the same time, I get it. I get it. I just wanted to make sure
Yeah, I want that too, man. Shit.
but also I think also they also realize that black murder is road type thing, right? So sometimes some fighters may sit there and be like, man, they just trying to get me to fight him, so they can clear the path for this dude, right? I
Hmm.
think that's in the back of their mind too, right? Just to look at it from another perspective. Like, so let's say you got a division where, like, you got Lomachenko, right? He was at 135. And let's just say you had Tank Shakur, Keyshawn, all of them, right? And let's say they all signed the top rank. Where you'll see Lomachenko, he kind of fighting, who he fighting, and then they make all of them, Tank Shakur and all of them, fight each other, right? And I'm just saying, hypothetically, they would make them all fight each other, get each other out the way to clear the path for Lomachenko to get to that top, right?
Yeah.
So they do that too, where you'll see promotional companies try to make the two gifted black fighters fight each other, get each other out the way. That fight, whoever loses goes down in the rankings, and that promising European or white or whatever he is fighter, Hispanic fighter, they move up. So, you see that a lot with Golden Boy too. You know what I mean? I mean, you look at PBC, a lot of their star fighters, a lot of them were signed to Golden Boy at one point, right? But I think just another perspective is that black murder is wrong.